Now, you've written books before, but the newest book is called The Spark. What's the pivotal point? What's the core in that you really hone in on?
I would say the core is, what we did to write this book was we surveyed 2,000 married couples at some of our conference,
Okay.
2,000 married people, excuse me. And what we came up with was that we realized that people see intimacy in one of two ways, either emotional intimacy or physical intimacy. And we realized that there's actually three more facets of intimacy that include emotional and physical, but there's also social intimacy, mental intimacy, and spiritual intimacy that all bring together us being one.
And that's the reality of life, is that most of us don't see how complex our relationship really is.
Yeah.
You know, social intimacy is really being best friends. You know, when you first started dating, you wanted to be together. You went to movies together. You threw parties together. It was fun.
That's social.
That's social
Yes.
intimacy. Mental intimacy is the idea that you both bring intelligence, you both bring gifts to the marriage. When I operate in I let you use your gifts, boy, our marriage is better because you're stronger in that area. Emotional intimacy is allowing your spouse to be the emotional being God created them to be. We're very different emotionally. Neither way is wrong. So let's let that person be the emotional person they are. Then physical intimacy. We all kind of know what that is. But the final one is spiritual intimacy. And this is not, we go to church together, we pray together, we read. No. Spiritual intimacy is when you commit to each other that we're going to grow to be like Christ. Because the more like Christ you become, the more you become her dream man. And the more like Christ you become, the more you become his dream woman. And so that all of those facets really fit together. And when we realize that, we build a stronger marriage.
And so it's those 5 areas of intimacy working together that then bring the spark?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
There's no
exactly.
question. The spark comes when we realize that all of these have to grow at the same time. When all of these have to mature, for lack of a better word. And mature doesn't mean old and stale. Mature means stronger. You know, when we're stronger friends, the spark comes easier. When we're relying on each other's intelligence, the spark comes easier. And so helping couples realize that this thing called marriage, that passion, that mystery, and that romance, it can be lifetime, but it does take work.
And they're
Go ahead. I was just going to say, and realizing that a marriage is going to go through seasons. There's going to be a season in your life where physical intimacy may not take a back seat. You would never hope that, but that it's not going to be
wane.
as, and social intimacy. Before kids, you probably had a lot more social intimacy than you do with kids. And then maybe after, I think too, when empty nesters, when their kids leave, they go, oh, now we have to do things together, because now social intimacy is going to become a bigger part of your life again. And so realizing that you go through seasons in your marriage, and that's okay, that life isn't going to be, you know, hunky-dory and you're going to goo-goo-eye at each other all the time.
but while they do ebb and flow, they're still interconnected.
Exactly, and they're all still there.
And you can't, like you were saying, have a list of, well, we're going to start with physical intimacy and move through to spiritual. We've been on physical for 23 years now, and you know, we're going to move to the next one once we really master this. You know? But you can't master one without all of them growing and flowing
and
together.
that's really, we found when we did our survey, we asked couples to rate themselves in each of these areas. How would you rate yourself socially and mentally? And what we found very interesting and disturbing at the same time was that couples would rate themselves, well, we're not very good friends, so I'm going to give us a 2. Mentally, 2. Emotionally, 1. Physically, 2. Spiritually, ooh, we're a 9. Because what they were seeing was, well, we go to church, we pray with our kids, we read our Bible, so we have to be socially intimate. Spiritually intimate. But you can't be one without all the rest of them. You can't focus on that spiritual and say, yeah, we're really good here, but we're really low here, because it affects that ebb and flow, like you were talking about. It all goes together.
And these other 4 are where the spiritual side hits the road. You know, if we are spiritually intimate, if we are growing to be like Christ, then it's going to make us better friends.
That's
because
good.
we're going to be doing those things that attract us to each other. Quite honestly, our sex life is going to be better. Why? Because I'm meeting her needs, she's meeting my needs. And so that was really frightening for us to see that couples have really deluded themselves to think, well, because we go to church, because we pray, all good things, don't get us wrong, all necessary things. But if they're not impacting the rest of your marriage, then it really isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing.